See, it would have been better over there in the light, I'd say. Under the light. It's all right, I'd say.
I can bring a spotlight and put it here, won't you?
If you have one. Oh, yeah. That's grand. I'll be able to see here, too. You can say when, anyway, because we're getting close. I thought it was just online, but I suppose I thought it was online. It was just. I think it's mainly for online.
Oh, is it?
But you can stay. Oh yeah, of course. You can say when, David. Huh? Okay. We're on, are we? First of all, I'd like to thank Father Michael for inviting me to do this, and I hope there are lots of people watching online. We have a small but distinguished audience here in front of us. I'll start with a little prayer. When I was a boy, I, me, and my was on my lips more than our, us, and we, until a prayer taught me tenderly that the plurality of our, us, and we, singularly, is godly. You need to think about that a little bit. But amazing grace, how sweet the sound would save a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I'm free. 'Twas grace that brought my heart to fear, and grace that fear relieved. How precious was that grace appeared the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Twas grace that brought me here this far, and grace will lead me on. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound, save a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. And when Father Michael asked me to pick a kind of a topic or theme, I said off the top of my head, the lost sheep. And I think I did it because a few Sundays back, we had the great story of the prodigal son. And I think it was Tolstoy that said that the prodigal son is probably one of the best little short stories ever written. And I associate with the prodigal son because I myself kind of left home at a very young age. I decided to run away and with a band. And we became very popular, actually. It was a band that was originally called The Intentions, but we eventually became the Granny's Intentions. Lovely name, isn't it? And I was in London, swinging London in the mid-60s, right in the middle of the revolution, as they called it. And I remember we played in a club called the Speakeasy, and all the famous rock stars used to go there. And Jimi Hendrix walked in, Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones, and another great singer from a band called, what are they called? They had a lovely single out called Going Up the Country. I'm going up the country. What were they called again? But anyway, these three famous, he had a number one hit at the time. And the thing that really struck me thinking back on this a few years later was all three of them were dead before the year was out. So like the prodigal son, I was in the big city squandering my time away on all sorts of, I think they said they called his shenanigans debauchery. But it was a great experience to look back on, and I've written fairly extensively about it in 2 books. But then when I was 31 years of age, I had a kind of a turnabout. I had gone solo and I was made a big album in London and all sorts of things like that. And things were looking really very rosy, but everything collapsed in a way. And it was, looking back on it, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it made me get down on my knees one evening, or one night. And the prayer that I started off with there when I was a boy, I, me, and my, was on my lips more than our, us, and we, says it all, really. So I said the Our Father and put me on a different track. And eventually I wrote this song, which changed my life. I am a sailor and you're my first mate. We signed on together, coupled our fate, hauled up our anchor, determined not to fail. For the heart's treasures, together we set sail. With no maps to guide us, we steered our own course. Weathered the storms when the winds were gale force. Sat out the doldrums with patience and hope. Working together, we learned how to cope. Life is an ocean, love is a boat. In troubled waters, keeps us afloat. When we started the voyage, there was just me and you. But now, look around us, we have our own crew. Together, we're in this relationship, built with care to last the whole trip. Our true destination's not marked on a chart, but we're navigating for the shores of the heart. Life is an ocean, love is a boat. In troubled water, keeps us afloat. When we started the voyage, there was just me and you. But now, look around us, we have our own crew. A new addition to the crew came a few weeks back. Sonny. I even wrote a song for him, Sonny Boy. I attend Mass during Lent for the spiritual nourishment of the Eucharist, which I now value so much. I attend daily Mass most mornings, all year round. Maybe I'm just getting old. To ward off any feeling of self-righteousness such devotion might bring, I regularly call to mind something Christy Moore's mother told Christy about daily Mass goers when he was growing up. You'll find it in his songbook, One Voice. People who go to Mass every day are usually the biggest sinners of all. For many years, I killed two birds with the one stone by walking from Salt Hill to St. Mary's Dominican Church in the Claddagh for the 7:20 Mass during Lent. The long walk was great exercise, and the coastal road and pathway from the Mutton Island Causeway turnoff to the quay across from St. Nemo's Pier has marvellous views of Galway Bay on sunny spring mornings leading up to Easter. More often than not, however, such strolls were conducted below wind-tussled umbrellas under teeming skies, and not just in winter. During the famous storms of 2013, one powerful gale literally swept me along at a breakneck speed that would have tossed me into the sea or onto the rocks had I not forced myself to fall on the tarmac path, which resulted in me limping to Mass with torn jacket and jeans that morning. But it's an ill wind that doesn't blow some good, especially for a songwriter. All through December, I made my way to the chapel in the bay, drawn like the Magi. I left my car, walked the dark shoreline, without a star. The wind was against me, the ocean was wild. When I made the journey for the child, black on black as ebony, the clouds and the rocks and the spread of the sea, and only shadows guiding me. The narrow path, the town up ahead, forest of lights and the holy bread and the deep hunger by which I'm led. All through the winter I kept on going, while the storms were blowing. Drawn like a moth to the candle flame that burned on the altar to the infant's name. Now time blows against me here in the spring. We're under the sun, black on black as ebony, the clouds and the rocks and the spread of the sea, and only shadows guiding me. The narrow path, the town up ahead, forest of lights and the holy bread and the deep hunger by which I'm led. All through the season till Christmas Day, I struggled all the way, lured by an instinct and the fear I might fail. The little life in the stable tale. Now light pours upon me here in the spring, where under the sun I sing. It's called Advent 2013, and I should have taken away this to get at the lyric. You stumble on lines sometimes. Oh yeah. Number 3. Because I've been rehearsing for a concert that I'm about to do in the Town Hall Theatre, I didn't really get time to do this in more detail. One of the main reasons I chose to write on the theme of resurrection was because in my life, when I returned to practicing faith after years of being a non-believer, I literally came back to life myself on the heels of a long spell of being on my last legs physically, mentally, and artistically, following a long run of hard knocks. Before I made the proverbial leap of faith, I could never have imagined the transformation that would occur in my life over the years that came after my return to religion. So for me, believing is related not only to religious practice, which I often compare to the essential regular musical practice of my trade, but is also inextricably linked to family and community as well as to the creative part of my nature. When I reflect back over my long career as a songwriter, I can see clearly now that the threads of creativity that gave the best of my work strength and durability came directly from my belief that there is meaning and purpose to life. And when I look back over history in general, I see that belief in God created most of the great wonders of culture and art throughout civilization. And I fear that the absence of faith will lead to cultural collapse in the future. By its very nature, art is light and beauty, while shadow and shade merely show up its glory, just as melody is music and dissonance, discord, to highlight harmony. If shadow and shade take over the entire canvas and dissonance flatten the whole score, where will the art be found? How will the tune be sung? And that's the way the arts are going, really. And that's one of the reasons I'm playing in the town hall and other art centres, which have mainly been taken over by comedians. I often make it gag when I go on stage that because I'm a sit-down singer-songwriter, it's tough in these days of stand-up comedians who've taken over the stage just for pranking. Another aim of focusing on the resurrection theme in the new concert I'm doing is to attempt to portray the mysterious subject, often overshadowed by the great event that precedes it, from a fresh perspective. The shadow of the fall-off of faith in our time is dealt with in Advent 2013, but only to highlight songs like Resurrection, Magdalene at the Tomb, and Sonny Boy, a song, as I say, written after the recent birth of our grandson. And I couple all these songs about birth into the center of the show, really. But before we go into them, I sing this song, which it's called The Cross. And there's a trumpet intro, which I haven't got the trumpet with me. How did the cross, emblem of loss, become such a potent symbol for so many people on earth? How did it fix this crucifix in the world's imagination as a plank of salvation and rebirth? And how come one so meek now tops that mountain peak? How did the tree come to be such a universal pendant for the countless dependent on God's word? No, that's the cross. I think I have one more to sing. Yeah. And I think there's 20 songs in total in the that I'm going to sing in the town hall next Tuesday night. And it'll end with this one. It's called Magdalene at the Tomb. The sun is up, it's break of day. The stone is moved, rolled away, and stepping in the empty cave, Magdalene is growing afraid. The tomb is empty, nobody there. The car's gone, but where? A voice like an angel seems to sing, the man is risen, Magdalene. The man is risen, the voice repeats, feathers soft, nectar sweet, and Magdalene now feels enticed to leave the tomb and search for Christ. The sun is up, and this living ray is burning bright to show the way. And stepping from the empty cave, Magdalene is growing brave. Ooh. 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 And that's it. There'll be backing singers and other musicians, and a band called the Legionnaires, which are made up of my granddaughters. So if anybody wants to come along, you'll hear the Resurrection concert. I got the idea for the whole thing from a song I wrote about a tree in the woods just beyond. It's called The Fallen Tree, and a lady in Norway heard me singing it on YouTube, and she traveled all the way from Norway just to hear me sing this song about the fallen tree. The Fallen Tree it's the opening song of the concert, and it really is a kind of metaphor for the cross. That lady came all the way from Norway to hear me sing that song in the town hall about 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago. And she booked 2 nights. I just played in the studio there, which is a small studio. It holds about 70 people, so I booked it for 2 nights. And she booked both nights, herself and her husband. But she came primarily to see the tree. And she had her photograph with me taken at the tree. And when she went back to Norway, she couldn't attend the second concert because she developed respiratory problems. And she died as soon as she went back to Norway. And it was COVID, I think. But that got me started on the whole theme of the resurrection concert. Next Tuesday. There are a few more tickets going, I think. That's it anyway. And with the Easter weekend coming, I must wish all the parishioners here a happy Easter, and Father Michael and David the same. So it's been lovely singing for you. Good night. That was grand, wasn't it? All right.